Alright, hello everyone and welcome back to my Fallout 4 Mod Spotlight series, where today we're having a look at the PPSH 41 mod, which is being made by user No Life Pothead. And what this glorious little piece of work looks to add into the game is this, the beautiful PPSH 41 submachine gun, which was used by the Russians in World War II. And oh, I love this being added into the game. As some of you may know if you've watched other weapon mods that I've done on here, I like my weapons to be lore friendly. That's why I never look at modern weapons being added into the game, because it just doesn't fit. This is the Fallout universe, people. Go with things that fit in the universe. Well, World War II does fit within the Fallout universe. It did happen, and it's after Fallout 2 that our time periods diverged, and so adding in something like the PPSH 41 makes perfect sense, and I think is a fun new addition to the game, because I mean, who doesn't love another new submachine gun? It's just fun, and thankfully pretty easy for you to get your hands on. Once you do have it installed, it does get added into the leveled loot list, so you'll find it scattered about on multiple enemies around the Commonwealth, as well as in different stores, or of course you could do like I did and, you know, just use console commands to cheat it in. But the gun itself is pretty good. If we go into the inventory and look at our standard one here, well, technically standard. There are two different receivers which are technically considered standard. A standard receiver, which is a semi-automatic, and the automatic receiver, which is fully automatic. But considering it is supposed to be a submachine gun, I have this one with the automatic receiver because it just makes more sense. It is a submachine gun after all. You should probably have fully automatic fire. You also have a standard barrel, traditional stock, stick magazine, and standard sights, which is the iron sights here. And it will do a 40 damage, use the 10mm rounds, with a fire rate of 109, range 167, accuracy of 69, and weight of 15.2. Good times indeed. Now, of course, as per usual, I've messed around with a couple of other versions here to show off what all you can do with this gun, so let's actually first go to the weapon workbench to check out all the modifications we can make, and then we'll do some test firing. So let's just take a look at our automatic PPSH 41 here, and first go to automatic receivers, or well, the receiver category in general, and we actually have quite a number of different receivers. As you can see here, we got a long list going down from the standard automatic 10mm to a lighter frame 10mm, harder frame 10mm, both in semi-auto and automatic, the powerful, advanced, and then after advanced, we move out of 10mm and start getting into other calibers. For instance, we have a 38 caliber automatic and semi-auto receiver, a 45 automatic and semi-automatic receiver, and finally a 5.56 automatic receiver and semi-automatic receiver. So just whichever ones you have the ammo for, you'll be pretty good. Though it should be noted off the bat here, like the powerful receiver here for the 10mm, with that installed, you're pretty much good to go. Or the advanced receiver rather, at 58, actually does do more damage than the 5.56. So I mean, it's just whichever you want to do, whichever you have the most ammo for, and of course the ranking requirements that you may need, you can you know, make it to whatever you want, which is quite cool. Now, as for barrels, we have three different sizes. The standard one here, the long barrel, which is just, you know, a tad bit longer, and you can see a little nub coming out the front, and then a short barrel, which, I mean, you know, it's short. So there's a thing. Let's actually pop one of those onto there real quick, and then head down to the traditional stock here, which of course we can either have a traditional one, which is the wooden World War II stock, or a modern stock to make it a bit more modern-y convenient if you so desire. Always good to have. Though I will note on the stock one though, the texturing for it isn't as nice as the wood one. It's pretty plain. Hopefully that'll be fixed in the future, but for right now I find it a bit plain for the modern stock. Would be nice to see that improved a little bit. We then have magazines where you have two options, a stick magazine, which is standard, or a drum magazine, which will hold quite a few more bullets, which is quite nice. Then we have down here the sights in the next category, where we have two different options, a standard iron sight, which is very impractical, frankly. It is very hard to actually aim down sights with the standard iron sights. The aperture sights is almost like a primitive hollow sight, and I quite like it. It's just 1.5x magnification, and it is a lot easier to see things than with the standard sight, so definitely worth the upgrade there. We then have something interesting, the muzzle. Now you'll notice we have the muzzle here, which we'll look at it. We have the compensator that we can add in, a muzzle brake, and finally a suppressor, which looks pathetically tiny on this thing. That should really be a lot bigger for a submachine gun of this size, but what are you gonna do? In fact, all of these muzzle brakes look very, very tiny for what they should be, which is why, honestly, I haven't used any of these yet. And you'll notice if we actually go back to barrel and go to long barrel, say, for instance, we do still have the muzzle here, but if we go to standard barrel, no muzzle. So you only get the muzzle on either the long barrel or short barrel, which, remember that nub I talked about earlier that comes out the front right there? That's basically why. On the standard barrel, you don't have access to that nub, whereas the long barrel and short barrel, you do. So just something to keep in mind. If you do want to add those muzzle attachments, you'll have to go either long or short barrel. And then the final thing we have is the internal modification, which is an interesting thing, because you can also add an additional front sight for barrel iron sights right there, which does make the iron sights more useful. The rear iron sights are pretty much useless in my opinion, but if you add on the barrel iron sights as well, it actually does the job pretty well, and I think is a good attachment. A very interesting thing. I do like that little extra category, very cool to have. And those are the modifications that we can make. So let's pull this thing out and take a look at it, firing a few shots into the water over there. So of course, there we go. We have the sights on here, which as you can see with the iron sights, if we didn't have the barrel sight in the front, we would not actually have, if I just go into a command line here real quick, we would not have this little iron sight bit right there. The iron sights with just the rear is just this rectangular bit here without the rounded bit or the fine-tune accuracy line, which is why I find it so difficult to aim with just the standard iron sights. But if you do have the barrel sight in front, it works a lot nicer. And let's put off a few shots with the 10mm. So there you go, not exactly the loudest of shots ever, which I do think is something that could be improved. I think it's a little bit low for the volume that it probably should be, but overall a very good custom sound that they did add in for this particular gun, which is quite cool. I'm assuming they found a sound file of a PPSH 41 somewhere online and used that, though I don't know because I've never actually heard one of these in real life. But yes, you have a good firing rate, poor accuracy of course, because, well, submachine gun, and we do have an animation, but you will notice that where we're holding our hand is a little bit off. Hopefully that will change over time with some better usage of the weapon, but for right now, yes, even though we do have a reload animation, just where he holds the hand on the gun is a little bit wonky, but perfectly suitable for my purposes, frankly. Now let's go take a look at another one of the weapons, the maximum capacity 45, so I upped it to the 45 caliber, and this one doing 45 damage, where the previous one only did a measly 40, and let's pull this thing out. We of course do have the big barrel magazine, which you will notice is clipping through our Pip-Boy a little bit down there at the bottom, but you know what, I can live with that. We also have the short barrel on this thing, so it's really not going to be very accurate, but let's fire. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. And we are now looking up at the sky momentarily before reloading. Oh my god, yeah, from not actually compensating at all, I went from here to roughly about here. That's some kickback right there, folks. That is indeed some kickback. But yeah, it's very nice, and with the 45 ammo, you do get a bit more damage, which is always cool. Now the next one we have is the Tactical Converted, which I think, ooh, actually, no, let's do this one last, because I think it's my favorite. Let's look at this Tactical Light PPSH 41, back to the 10mm rather, but this one has the, that other scope. Oh my god, I'm forgetting what it's called, but not the iron sights, the basically like primitive version of a hollow scope there, or reflex scope, and I quite like that. And this one is only the semi-auto, so it'll do a bit more damage up front and have a lot more accuracy. And overall, very cool weapon, and with these different sights on it, very, very nice indeed. I actually do quite like the sight of this one. It's a little bit nicer than some of the others I've seen on other guns, which is quite cool. And then finally we'll go to the tactical one, which uses the same scope, but does have that modern stock to it, which as you can see, like I said, the texturing just seems a little bit flat, but overall, very nice and looks fairly-ish modern. So there we go, we have that, and this one is using 5.56 rounds as well, so it is fairly powerful. And downsight and compensating actually stays fairly accurate. So, of course, you know what that means. We have to go over here and take out the Wild Mongrel, as like we always do on these whenever we're looking at a new gun. And let's see how many bursts it takes to kill this guy. Let's see, we got actually pretty decent with the 5.56. Oh, there we go. Short little burst, just a couple of rounds with the sneak damage. Got him quite nicely. Excellent. And yeah, with the 5.56, it actually is pretty darn accurate, frankly, which is kind of cool. I do enjoy that. And yeah, this has been the PPSH 41, a very, very cool weapon. Again, I've been having a lot of fun with it. A Russian World War II submachine gun, which I think fits in very nicely into the world. So if you would like to give it a shot for yourself, I'd definitely say to give it a try. You can take a look at the link in the description, as usual. And I definitely say to have a look at it. It is a pretty cool gun, and I think you'll enjoy your time with it. But that is going to be it for today, folks. I hope you all have enjoyed. And, of course, you do come back for the next. But until that time, thank you for watching. And as always, have a good one.